Dad deserves double the thanks this year, so this Father's Day, give him the power tool system that has everything for every job. The Ryobi One Plus tool system now on special buy. Over 260 Ryobi tools powered by one interchangeable 18-volt battery. And for a limited time, when you make a qualifying Ryobi purchase, you get one select tool or battery free. Feels like Father's Day at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Offer valid through July 31st, 2022. Valid at participating stores and online. Limit 1 per transaction.
This summer, LL Bean invites you to simply step outside and enjoy the fresh air and sunshine. We'll be your guide with tips and advice to get more out of every moment outdoors. Here's a trick to estimate how much time you have left outside before the sun sets. Stretch out your arm and hold your hand sideways, palm facing up. Every finger between the horizon and the sun is 15 minutes of daylight. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.
Hey folks, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. My name is Mason, where we talk about stories about adventure here on this show and why it's important. Today's episode is really interesting because it's going to be why it's important to stay ready for adventures with Becki from trailblazerwellness.com. And so what's interesting, I met Becki back in October at the Outdoor Media Summit. And we instantly were like, hey, let's do a podcast. This sounds like a really interesting topic. And long time coming, but we recorded the episode months ago, and I typically schedule out like 6 to 8 weeks in advance. After I record, the episode will come out. Well, I was up like 3 months out. And so by the time I actually went to edit the episode, I realized her audio or our audio was no good, which doesn't happen very often. It's very rare. And so I didn't think to check it beforehand. So I was like, shoot, Becki, the audio is no good. We had to re-record an episode. So this is, the second take. It was supposed to come out months ago, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes that's what adventure is like, whether it's injury or just plans didn't align or something sets us back. But it's important to stay ready for adventure, which is what we're going to talk about with Becki, because you never know when those opportunities are going to come. No one knew the pandemic was coming a year in advance, but if you were relatively fit or relatively healthy, chances are you went through some sort of disruption in life, whether that's being laid off or something more positive like working from home or moving across the country or moving around like I know tons of us did. Those kinds of transitions allow usually some time to go do something. Not always, but sometimes. And if you're, in a relatively healthy mindset and healthy position in life, and you're conscious about when those opportunities arise, you can really take advantage of them and do some really awesome adventures and not have to wait till you're, 65 and retired, or, if you missed the boat when you were in college, which are two great times to do adventures as well. But there's so much time in between that you can make stuff happen. You just got to stay ready and got to be fit for it. And that's one big motivator of staying adventure ready, as we like to say. So Becki's going to help us talk about that and get ready for adventure through Trailblazer Wellness, like I said. And if you're interested in being coach or learning more, reach out to Becki. Her information is in the show notes. But all right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Becki, Rupp, welcome to Adventure Sports Podcast. How's it going?
Fantastic, Mason. How are you?
Yeah, this is our second go around for folks listening. We tried to record before. Background noise just wasn't working, so we'll try to make this sound as fresh and as new as possible. But yeah, that's adventure sometimes, like we were saying, right?
Right, exactly. And you just adapt and move on. And
yeah, that's even as prepared as you feel sometimes, it doesn't work out. And I'm sure that your travels to 40 U.S. states and several countries, guiding trips, I'm sure you've had a few mishaps here and there.
Oh, sure, of course. It's inevitable, right? And, sometimes that's the most fun part, actually, as it turns out. So
what someone just told me this, there's all kinds of different ways to say it, but in college, I felt like a lot of people said, go for the story, go for what makes the
Oh,
story a
yeah.
story. But now you can't
Sure.
like totally do that. And so I heard a kind of updated version. It's either going to be success or it's going to be a story.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the best stories are the failures. So I'm like, yeah, either way, you're going to get some value out of it.
Sure. Yeah. I like to, talk to my clients actually about it's not trial and error, it's trial and learning, or, trying and adjusting, and, just that process of things not working out the way you hoped or expected is an opportunity. And, it's all what you make of it.
Absolutely. No, I really like that. Trial and error. That's just a thing we hear all the time. But trial and what did you say? Trial and
Trial and
adjustment.
learning,
Trial and learning.
or
Yeah, I love that.
learning, or trial and adjustment. Yep.
Trial and learning. Learning was ironically the word I forgot. So I'll try to learn that better. So yeah, tell us. I always ask this first, and some of this will be a repeat. But where are you coming from today? Where's home for you? And if you didn't grow up there, where'd you grow up?
Sure. Yeah. I have the absolute pleasure and blessing to live in the central Colorado mountains in a little town called Salida. It's about 2.5 hours southwest of Denver, and pretty much due south of places that people may be a little more familiar with, due south of Vail and Breckenridge and the like, by about an hour and a half as the crow flies. So I am right on the eastern side of the Continental Divide. I get to look out my window at 14,000 foot peaks every day, and we have all kinds of adventure opportunities here. It's a world-class whitewater rafting river, mountain biking, hiking, rock climbing, skiing, 20 minutes to the local ski hill, ski mountain, I should say. It's not a hill. It's on the Continental Divide. So yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm very, very fortunate to live here. I grew up in the Midwest, though, in Michigan, and made my way out to Colorado in 2000 by way of Chicago and DC, and a little stint in North Carolina before I made it to Colorado. And just, yeah, absolutely love it here.
What's going on in Salida this time of year? What is it looking like? What are y'all doing? Because it could go either way, I think, with weather.
It is, we are in the season of all the things. It's
Depends on the
spring.
elevation in the day, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally the season. And actually, like for many months, you can do multiple sports. We're just on the start of river season, so we do have some brave people getting in the water with the runoff. Skiing has been great. We had 10 inches of snow up at Monarch, our local mountain, this week, and we're supposed to get another 10 next week. So I'm hoping to get another powder day in. We're also mountain biking on the trails because it's warm enough and dry enough on many days to do that. So really, this is like that, like little sweet season where you can do everything. We have a race, a kind of interesting race here called pull, pedal, paddle. So it starts with skiing, skinning up and skiing, and then you transition to a mountain bike, and then you end up paddling in the river, and that's happening in a couple weeks. So literally, you can like do everything right now. So the problem is just deciding which thing you want to do. And you can ski in the morning and mountain bike in the afternoon, or hike or whatever. So
Yeah, people think that's so wild, but when you see it, it just totally makes sense with the elevation. And
ah,
I remember when we lived in Colorado, there was one year where it was particularly warm winter, and I
mhm.
remember making note because we had a mountain biking mountain like right out the door, and I
Mhm.
remember making note. I said I was able to comfortably bike or hike in a t-shirt every week of this year. Every single week of the year,
Yeah,
at least one
yeah.
day. It was just wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
Climate change is a thing,
Yep.
and it's kind of scary, and there are a lot of unfortunate ramifications of being able to do that. But yeah, I love that I could ski in the morning and mountain bike in the afternoon. That's just like my happy place.
Yep. That is yeah, there
Amazing.
will be Definitely some positives to climate change, but only in those small instances compared to the negative side. So yeah, I did not mean to
Yeah.
make light of
Yeah,
that for sure.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
it was interesting. It's just the weather there. It's so dry. It's so
Hmm.
gosh, it's great. It's fantastic weather.
Yeah.
So much sunshine, and so it makes
Yeah.
it just perfect for getting out. So
Yeah.
you kind of yourself kind of always need to be adventure ready because it's every day. You can do it every day. You can stay ready just by living there and being there. But tell us about what you do in getting folks prepared for their adventures. Like, what do you do, and how did you get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take how I got into it first, I guess, because I won't take you down the whole long and winding road, but basically, I had become certified as a personal trainer several years ago after, just really enjoying fitness on my own and seeing how many benefits I had to like stress relief and, just being able to do all these fun things and, helps with just so many things. Um, but I was still working in a corporate job at the time, 50, 60, sometimes more hours a week, and was not able to really focus on that as much as I'd hoped. So 3 years ago, almost exactly, I quit my corporate job and decided to focus really on helping people directly with their health. That's really my passion, is to help people feel healthier and more confident and be able to get out there and do those amazing things that they have on their list, they've been meaning to do, they really are longing to do. But many of them are like me and spent 20, 30 years in their careers and or kids. I don't have kids, but many of my clients have just spent so much time on those things and maybe done some fitness stuff in the meantime, but let's be honest, that's sometimes the things that doesn't necessarily that gets falls by the wayside, I guess we could say, when there's all these competing priorities. So when I left my job, I wanted to help other people find the ways that they could get more fit, get more active, get healthier, and then take on those adventures that they wanted to do. So that's been really fun. It's been an interesting journey. I am focused on, I mean, it's adventures in your own backyard if you'd like, but I also travel a lot. And like you mentioned at the outset, been to most states in the country, many places overseas. I love to explore and do adventures in other places. And, a lot of people have those kinds of things on their, quote unquote bucket list. Um, but they're just, in the last 2 years has been interesting because number one, we weren't able to travel as much and not get to some of those places that we've been wanting to get to. And now, which kind of put things on hold for a while, which was like an awkward place, but I think it actually helped people like really realize that, we can't time is going to run short on us, and if we want to do those things, we should probably get started on that now. So I'm really seeing a lot of clients now are like, I just been wanting to do this and I thought, well, I'll just do it someday, but through the pandemic, it's like, man, it's like when I get the opportunity, I better just go and do it. So so now I get the opportunity to help people now that we're opening up and getting back out there and doing more traveling and adventuring. So that's sort of how I transitioned into this niche.
Was there a light bulb moment that you said, "Oh, this person needs
Mm.
help. I'm gonna help them," and maybe others do, or was it just kind of an idea and launched it into the world and see where it went?
Yeah, actually, there was kind of a light bulb moment. I was starting my, personal training and coaching practice, and I was working with someone that I knew here locally in Salida, and she had just retired. So my audience does tend to be, people in their. I have some clients in their 30s, but primarily like 40s to 60s. And this one was on a little bit on the older range. She had just retired and she's like, again, she's, raised kids and had a career. And she's like, now I want to go do all these things. And I just, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can and I want to. So we really focused on helping her improve her fitness and her capabilities for an upcoming trip, which ironically was right before COVID. She literally was probably on one of the last planes back from the Philippines before everything shut down. And she came back and was just so thrilled to be like, have had a great time and done all these amazing things. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing. People want to do this and they need help with it. So that's kind of when I latched on to the idea of specifically helping people with travel and adventure. And then I got to wait for a little while and figure out some things while nobody was traveling, but it's all good. It all worked out in the end. So
when was a time on an adventure that maybe you could have been more prepared? Something like what you're doing now could have helped you. Maybe you don't have that experience. Maybe you're not like me where you're vastly underprepared for almost everything you do in life.
I do tend to be a little bit of an over preparer or a big time planner. And I can't think of a time when I was like really struggling, but I do remember, and this was another part of the inspiration when my husband and I went to Peru and hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, which was back in like, oh gosh, I think 2013. And my husband was the oldest person in the group, and I was probably the second oldest. And I just remember some of the younger people struggling. And I think I didn't specifically have a conversation with them at that point, but the guide had told us, they kind of, scan the group before they go and kind of, mentally note who they might have to help a little bit more or whatever. And, the guide was like, I thought you and your husband would be the ones who would have to like, just keep an eye on and, maybe slow down for or whatever. And it ended up, being some other people in the group. And that just really resonated with me. Like, yeah, we worked really hard to prepare for this. And we really wanted to be able to enjoy ourselves, not just make it through, but just really enjoy the experience. We spent a lot of money to get there, and it was like, probably going to be a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So we did put in the time and effort to get ready, but some of the others were, kind of on the struggle bus. And I was like, people may not realize what's possible for them and what a little bit of extra preparation could do for them. And it can really just improve the quality of your adventure. So, there's fun, like we were talking about before, like there's also fun in learning and they maybe not being as prepared and, and struggling a little bit. And, as long as nobody gets hurt, as long as you make it through, that's totally fine. But I personally I always like to be, I'm maybe a little over prepared sometimes.
So it's definitely a gamble if you're not prepared, if you're going to have a good story or if you're just going to be frustrated. Because so I'm vastly underprepared for most things, and which has some benefits to it, believe it or not, but not as many as being prepared. So, but I know that my goals are high, so I know I need to be prepared for certain things for them to be successful, feel accomplished, and get that kind of value from the experience. But I would love to hear maybe a story or two of a time one of your clients or someone you helped was prepared and what they were able to accomplish, and maybe a time that maybe they didn't take your words to heart. I don't know if you have any of those examples, but I'd love to hear an example of someone being prepared for something they maybe thought they couldn't do. Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. I'd like to introduce you to our newest sponsor, Gnarly Nutrition. I know you've heard about them recently because we've had some guests on recently that credits Gnarly for helping them do the adventures that we talk about on this show. So Chris Fisher was one who did the Vert Max. He did 400,000 feet of elevation gain in a month. Check out that episode. That was not too far back. And he credits Gnarly Nutrition for keeping his body literally sustained during that time, just packing in the calories. It's amazing nutrition for anyone doing anything adventure, endurance based, whether that's in the mountains or bike packing or whatever. It's a great thing to have with you prior to an adventure training and also during an adventure. And also Jason Hardrath, who recently did the 100 fastest known times. He did 100 mountains in 50 days and just was slamming Gnarly Nutrition. He also credits Gnarly for essentially keeping his body sustained. And so Gnarly Nutrition has been around since 2008. They were born in Utah's Wasatch Mountains, and they are committed to educating and inspiring athletes of all levels to be as nutritionally sound as possible. Their nutrition supplements are certified by NSF and have science-backed products free of hormones, free of GMOs, proprietary blends, and nothing artificial. So Gnarly is going to help you get ready and help you sustain during those huge adventure efforts. So if you're looking for the best tasting and the most trusted sports nutrition brand for any endurance athletes, go to GoGnarly, and that is GNARLY.com, and use the code GNARLYADventure15 for 15% off. And just, a personal plug here. I love Gnarly. I love the folks there. They're doing such a fantastic job. They have been so great to work with. They helped provide some products for our Journey to 100 film series that we were doing giveaways with at the end of every film screening. So it's been a pleasure to work with them so far. So if you'd like to support the folks that are supporting this show, definitely go visit GoGnarly.com. Many of you know that I work in the brewing industry, specifically with Athletic Brewing, and we make non-alcoholic craft beer, but we can also ship through the mail. But if you want to order an alcoholic drink, you oftentimes can't ship that through the mail. Well, you can now with Drizzly. You can have it delivered to your house for whatever occasion that you want to have alcohol shipped to your house, whether that's birthdays, weddings, graduation, Mother's, Father's Day, any sort of holiday. You can make up a holiday if you want to have a drink, because honestly, every day is a cause for a celebration. So if you're looking for the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits with delivery to your doorstep, and get this, in under an hour, Drizzly is the number one app for that. You can download Drizzly app, go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. You can use the promo code SPRING5 for $5 off your first order. So whether you're having a big celebration at home or just a casual night, you have some friends over, the weather's not great, you just want to watch Netflix, go ahead and get the Drizzly app and use the code SPRING5 for $5 off your first order of beer, wine, or spirits shipped to your house in under 60 minutes.
This summer, LL Bean invites you to simply step outside and enjoy the fresh air and sunshine. We'll be your guide with tips and advice to get more out of every moment outdoors. Here's one. For your next barbecue, you can cook a dozen ears of corn right in your cooler. Toss in the corn, add a couple quarts of boiling water, and close the lid. In 30 minutes, your corn will be perfectly cooked. Just add butter. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.
That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
Oh, absolutely. So last summer, a friend of mine and she runs a tour operation, a travel company. Her name's Christine. Her company's Lotus Sojourns. And she approached me and said, hey, I've wanted to climb a 14er. So for those who may not know, maybe all your audience knows here, but I was surprised when I started talking to other people about this project that they didn't know what a 14er was. So there are like 50 plus of them in Colorado, and there are peaks that are more than 14,000 feet in elevation. So it's a big thing here to kind of check off, 14ers on your list and hike to the top. And it's a thing here in Colorado. And then people come here from, all over the US and all over the world to do it. So she's like, I want to do a 14er. And I think, there might be some other people who would be interested in training for that and doing that as well. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds awesome. So we got a group of ladies together to do that. And a couple of them were like, I think most of them were like, I'm really not sure if I'm going to make this? And I'm like, we are absolutely going to make it. It's going to happen. So, it's just a process over time, and you don't just, most people don't roll out of bed and hike a 14er. They are hard. Like, we talk about quote unquote easy 14ers and hard 14ers. But the fact is, like, when you're at 13, 14,000 feet, just breathing is hard for most people. So, plus the added, you're gaining elevation on top of the oxygen situation. So it's inevitably hard, and it's often harder than a lot of people expect who do come to do one. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to do an easy 14er and it'll be fine. And you see them on the side of the mountain. They're just like, oh my gosh, what have I done? So anyway, so we had a 3-month training program, and I just, step people through it really gradually. And, some of the ladies were starting with, walking 2 to 3 miles on flat surfaces. One of them was in Michigan she lived in Colorado, but she was in Michigan with her family for the first month and a half. So she was at sea level, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm coming back to Colorado. I only have a month and a half or so before we're going to go do this. Is that going to be okay? And, sure enough, it was. So I try to just meet people where they're at, and, start them where they are, and gradually increase the intensity and help them try to figure out how to make it work in their lifestyle. A lot of training plans I see out there are like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, these are the things you do. And then Tuesday, Thursdays is what you do. And Saturday, Sunday, whatever. It's very specific and structured, but life just isn't like that. So that's where the coaching comes in, and kind of collaborating with people on, okay, this is what I recommend for the week. How is that going to fit into your life? And so that's part of the strategy for helping people figure out how to do it as much for themselves as it is being dictated by me. So I'm the expert in like how much I would ideally recommend you should be doing. But to your point, Mason, like sometimes you can't do it for whatever reason. So in that situation, like if they're not able to do as much as I would necessarily recommend, then we just talk about it and figure out if it's going to work out, and if they are going to get to the point where it's going to be safe for them to do their adventure. And fortunately for all of these ladies, it was, and we had an awesome time, and everybody made it to the top. So it was a great experience.
That is awesome. Too cool. And one of the cool things too, if even if you're not, say you are pretty capable and you can do a lot, but you only have a limited amount of time,
Sure.
like being a little bit more prepared or a little bit more fit can allow you to squeeze in adventure in that allotted time you have. For example, like we had Mike Chambers on, who's hosts Beat Monday, the show about doing the most you can in a weekend and a true weekend. And so I try to do this every 2 months. I'll try to do almost a Beat Monday, more like a Beat 24-hour period experience where you try to get as much done in 24 hours. It's amazing what you can do if you're ready in a short amount of time. Have you seen that at all for folks? Maybe not with who you've worked with, but that's definitely a positive of being prepared.
Yeah, I mean, just having some baseline fitness and, being consistent is really like allows you to do so many things, right? Then you can kind of pick up the pace or pick up the activity level a little more easily if you're just, even if you're not, you don't have to spend hours in the gym or hours on the bike or hours outside necessarily. If you just can squeeze it in, between, again, I know a lot of people between, work and parenting and other commitments, I do have clients that struggle with that. And again, we just kind of figure out like where it fits in and get that baseline and that foundation in place. And then from there, you can decide like how far you feel, like you can or should push it, and what you can do on top of that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So what are some of the ambitions besides the 14ers that you've helped folks achieve? And also, tell us about some of your own adventure ambitions. Is it just to get more people involved, or is it to do a lot of the things yourself?
Yeah, so I'm currently training. Actually, I have three people who are going to be heading out within the next couple of weeks to do a newer adventure called the Camino de Costa Rica. So Costa Rica has set up a Camino route from the Caribbean to the Pacific, running through the middle of the country, which is just looks so cool. And it's totally on my list now. But it's relatively new, and it's like a village to village kind of thing. But it's got, Costa Rica's a pretty hilly country, right? It's got volcanoes and all that sort of thing. So it's about a 2-week hike from coast to coast. So they'll be, doing some pretty good mileage days. And pretty good elevation change. So I've been working with some folks on that. I've got a couple of folks who are doing the Salcante route in Peru and eventually visiting Machu Picchu. So that's the Salcante route goes up over a pass that I believe is over 15,000 feet. So really high altitude, higher than I went when I was on the Inca Trail in Peru. So working with some folks on that. Kilimanjaro's a big one that a lot of people are really excited to do, but it's, it requires a lot of preparation. And then as far as me, this isn't, I don't know, depends on what your definition of adventure is, but my husband and I are going to be hiking the Camino de Santiago, the Portugal route, starting in May. So we've got a couple weeks in May that we'll be actually out there in Portugal and Spain doing our own little adventure. So
that's
the next thing on the list. Yeah.
Jeez. That's awesome. How long is that, and how long does it take again?
Well, there's various routes and various ways to kind of starting points and things that you can do. So the longest route and the most popular route is the French way, and that starts over in France. Just on the other side of the Pyrenees, and then comes over to Spain and kind of runs along northern Spain. But we are doing the Portuguese route, which I think starts technically in Lisbon or around that area, but we're picking it up in Porto and heading up to the Santiago de Compostela. So our version that we're doing is 150 miles or so, and we're putting in a few rest days in there because we're a little older. My husband's 60 and I'm 52. So not that that's any excuse or reason, because there are plenty of people who do it with at much older ages, especially the Camino. But we've chosen to take our time and really enjoy it. And it'll be, I think, 14 days of walking and 17 days total. So we're going to take our time and just, enjoy the villages and enjoy the people we meet and the sights and all those good things. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, that's awesome. And when did you say that was again?
In May.
In May. So it's coming up soon. Mm-hmm. Holy cow.
Coming up soon. So guess what? We've been training.
Yeah, I imagine.
I've got the plan written on the whiteboard in our little home gym workout space. So, yep.
That is too
My poor
cool.
husband. My poor husband, who has to live with the trainer. He's like, okay. But he's grateful for it because, like I said, on the Inca Trail, we were the first ones at the first camp, and I was like, yes, we got
ready.
This.
That is awesome.
So,
too cool. Yeah. Well, tell us a few tips and tricks of folks to get ready. Something that's free that you recommend, maybe sure. Just that helps folks set some of these bigger goals. And bigger, I mean, maybe summit their first 14er or
sure.
do something that's introductory but also ambitious.
Yeah, right. That's kind of a thing, is finding that it may not be the first, but kind of gauging your adventure appropriately so that you can push yourself and feel that sense of accomplishment, but not be miserable. I mean, unless you want to be miserable, but most of the people I work with don't want to be miserable. So yeah, I think that just kind of just the first step to figure out what you want to do is like what really speaks to you. Like what do you like just feel in your gut or in your bones that you really want to do? Because in order to prepare for it, you are gonna probably need to put in some time and effort. And if you're not really that jazzed about it, if like hiking a 14er is like, I don't, yeah, I guess I could do that. It'd be okay. Like, that may not be the right adventure for you. It should be something you're pretty psyched about. And then it's just a matter of, for most adventures, like they're doable, especially things that, kind of the average person would think of as an adventure. I know some of the people you have on your podcast here, the kinds of adventures they do, like make me go, oh my gosh, I would never in a million years want to do that. So more everyday adventures or more like average person adventures, like most people can do them. I like to kind of compare it to running a marathon. Like I think a lot, like not everyone, but pretty much a lot of people could run a marathon if they want to put in the time and effort to prepare for it. I have no desire to run a marathon. I don't never say never, but I probably never will. But I could do it, just so I guess I use that comparison because like training for something that you're excited about is most likely doable. Climbing a 14er, hiking a 14er is pretty doable for most people who are in decent health. I mean, there are 60, 70-year-olds out here that do it. So it's, it might be slow. And, you're not going to set any records, might not be super comfortable, but, most people can get it done if they've done the preparation. And then the key is to just look at the time frame and see what's reasonable so that you can take the time to prepare gradually. And that's, mostly what I do with my program is just like look at where you're at, look at when you're planning to go, and then map out that gradual progression. And so, there's a lot of things that are very sports specific, depending on if it's a long bike ride that you're planning to do, if you're going to do like a century, or if you're doing a multi-day ride. Say you're, we did a 7-day ride on the islands of Croatia last fall. So we, our boat took us from island to island, and then we had a ride each day. So, that sort of thing, you just want to have some specific training based on what the activity is or the activities are that you're doing. And again, ramping up things that like 10%-ish addition to your like mileage or time or whatever measurement it is appropriate for your adventure. You want to ramp that up gradually over the weeks. You want to make sure you have some rest time and recovery time. I also really strongly recommend strength training for, pretty much every adventure. It doesn't have to be a ton. You don't have to like go, do CrossFit or, spend an hour at the gym like 3 days a week, pumping heavy weights. But there are a lot of benefits to strength training to help with your endurance, to help you with preventing injury, especially as we get older. Just like getting those muscles really in tune will help you with that, with achieving that goal in a more comfortable way. I also usually give people, suggest to people that they do some stretching, whether that's yoga or, kind of whatever their preferred stretching approach is. My husband loves this thing called ROMWOD, range of motion, workout of the day. I was shocked that he like really got into it, but he's really gotten into it. So he does it, pretty regularly. And yeah, just having a nice, well-rounded approach, and then having, even some cross training. So if you're doing a big hike, but you like to bike as well, take a day to go bike, just use your muscles differently. So you're not just like continually grinding on the same system, I guess, and give your body some other opportunities to move in different ways.
Oh, that's awesome. Great tips. I love that. Tell us about one of your most rewarding experiences and why you personally like to stay ready for adventure. Tell us about maybe one of your favorite adventures. Or it doesn't have to be the favorite, but something that just comes to mind as like an amazingly rewarding experience. Like, this is why I do this.
Oh gosh, there's just like
there's
so
only
many,
40 for you to choose from. So.
Well, I just, I'm just so grateful, like day to day, to be able to do things. And, part of that is, like I said before, where I live, like just being able to roll out of bed and like go jump on a bike or go out for a hike. And that's kind of like the day to day readiness and a reason that I just kind of stay, on track. And besides, I just love exercising anyway. I know not everybody does. Believe me, some of my clients are like, I'm only doing this because I want to go do, like this is not my love or my passion. I'm just doing this purely so I can go do this thing. One of my favorite adventures. Yeah, I mean, my husband and I did a backpacking trip in Yosemite a while ago, and that was pretty amazing. We started up in Tuolumne Meadows and hiked all the way down to the valley. We were with another friend, and we had staged a car down in the valley. So that was a 3 to 4 day backpacking trip. It was early season, and we really didn't see anybody until we got close to the valley. Well, we saw a lot of people at Half Dome. That's really where we first started seeing a lot of people. But from Tuolumne down to like Half Dome, we just didn't even see anybody. And we, heard avalanches, and we crossed it was like June. So we were crossing these rivers that were like swollen with runoff and just freezing, like almost up to my waist. And I was like, oh my gosh. But that was really fun, just a really special experience. And then when we got to Half Dome, this was again years ago. I mean, it was busy, but not like it is now. I think you need a permit now to like do the side of Half Dome. So we're not climbers, so we didn't do the face. But climbing up the side of Half Dome and getting up to the top and seeing the valley, Yosemite Valley was just incredible. So that was a really, really special adventure experience.
That is too awesome. Now, I actually never got the, used to live there in Yosemite, which I'm sure listeners are like rolling their eyes every time I mention the same stories. But I was a child in a lot of ways, very young, fresh out of school. And I tried to climb Half Dome one time without a permit. And my plan, I biked there. I was biking across country. I stopped in Yosemite, and I was like, I'll just do it in the middle of the night.
Oh, gosh.
During a full moon. And I got up to the subdome, and I was about to start on the cables, and I didn't see it, but right at the base of the cables was this dark gray sleeping bag. Oh. And I thought it was a rock. And I go to step over it, and it was a ranger.
Oh my gosh. Holy
sleeping to prevent people from doing that. And it was literally like 2 a.m. And
oh my gosh.
But you could see everything because the moon was out, and it's all granite. And he stopped me, said, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And I was like, I was just stunned. I didn't see it. I didn't even notice it. I thought it was a rock till I was about 3 feet away. And he woke up and he's like, man, I can't let you do that. But if someone has an open spot on their permit coming up, you can take that spot. Because a lot of times people back out at the last minute, or they don't feel well the night, before that morning or whatever. It's tons of stuff happens like that. And for some reason, someone might have a 5-person permit and only 3 can make it that day. So, or they turn around halfway through if they're not feeling well. So, I was like, all right, sweet. So I sat with him. I sat for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours before I was in shorts too. And it was May.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
And I was like,
freezing.
I am freezing. I need to get moving. And he's like, yeah, man, sorry. And I did not pass another group for like an hour and a half going down. So I'm really glad I didn't wait. But
Yeah.
hilariously, I did not make it to the top of Half Dome for that trip.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, yeah, this was pre-permit, so that tells you. It was 2000 actually. That was the summer we were
Wow,
out there
yeah,
before.
definitely.
Yeah, and we came at it because from the opposite side of most people, because most people are coming up from the valley, right? But we had started above in where we were coming down. So we didn't see a ton of people till we got there, and then of course when we got there was a lot of people, but it was really, it was really amazing. It was really cool. And then we got back to camp. So we, backpacked, we dropped our packs in camp. We hiked to Half Dome, went up Half Dome, came back down, hiked back to camp. I can't remember how far it was back to our camp, probably just like a mile or two maybe. But, we'd been backpacking already for a couple of days. And we get back to camp and we are getting ready, getting our bear canisters out, getting ready to set up for dinner. When who comes along but Mama Bear and Baby Bear?
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, oh no, this is not good. And, of course, Mama Bear looks like she weighs like 800 pounds to us at that point. And she sends Baby Bear over to our tents to check them out. We were away, of course, from our tents because we were going to be cooking. So we were pretty far away from our tents, but we're like banging on pots and pans. And like Baby Bear's back practically doing a dance, like, oh, thanks for the musical accompaniment, like they aren't afraid of that in Yosemite. They're just like, whatever. So Baby Carrot Bear comes and sniffs around and kind of checks things out and decides there wasn't anything of interest in our tents and stuff and didn't come over to approach us, fortunately. So they wander off, they decide there's nothing, that they're going to move on. But needless to say, we were not going to fire up dinner after that. So we pretty much had Cliff Bars for dinner. And I was like, oh my God, barely slept a wink that night. And it was like, that was definitely an adventure. So
that is too
good
crazy.
times.
See, that's the
Good
stuff, no matter how
times. prepared
you are, that's the stuff that just you can't, that's the
Exactly.
wilderness, that's adventure.
Oh my
Things are
gosh.
going to happen.
Yeah,
Things are going to happen.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
is too funny.
Yeah.
Well, where can if folks are wanting to maybe take the next step in their adventure readiness, where can they find out more about you and what can they expect working with you? And how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my business is Trailblazer Wellness. And so I have trailblazerwellness.com. I'm on Facebook, Trailblazer Wellness, Facebook page, Instagram, all the things. I'm not on Twitter. That's just a platform I've not taken to so much. But yeah, you can find my website at trailblazerwellness.com. You can reach me at Becki, Becki, at trailblazerwellness.com. And on my website, I have set up like packages based on like 6 months, 3 months, 6 weeks, kind of depending on where you are relative to your particular adventure. That being said, I'm really flexible. I always talk to people first. You technically could sign up for a package right on my website, but I highly encourage a 30-minute consultation call. So those are totally free. You can just book it. Again, just email me and say, hey, I'm interested. What do you think? And we'll set up some time to just chat about, what you're planning to do, where you're going, what you're thinking about, what's involved, and see if it's a good fit for you and for me. And there's certain things that I don't train people for. I don't train people for technical mountaineering. So if you're going to go do Rainier, I can help you get ready for Rainier, but I don't do technical mountain climbing training. And I don't do like hardcore nutrition stuff either. So it's just not my specialty. I have people I can refer to if that is something that you're interested in. But if you're just looking to, go do this thing you've had in your head and it seems like it's a bit of a stretch, but you're like really kind of itching to do it, let's talk about it. We'll just, we'll talk through it and see what how we can make it happen for you.
Awesome. Well, I love it, Becki. It's we all need encouragement. We all need some help getting ready. I know I'm one that needs more structure when getting ready for things, especially adventures. So I love that this type of thing exists from someone who's doing it themselves and setting their own goals. So thanks for sharing some stories and sharing a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then just a little bit more about how it works is that we would set up a program and we meet either weekly or biweekly. And I give you, I put together the plan and then we collaborate on how it actually plays out and make adjustments along the way. Some people, when they're training for things, they just, you can definitely grab a training plan off the internet. Like they're all over the place, right? Just good old, Google will bring you up some training plans. But one of the things I find with many of my clients, for better or for worse, is, life happens along the way. And, you get sick, you get injured, something happens to a family member, work gets crazy, and all of a sudden that training plan that looked really like fine is feeling a little daunting. And so I often end up working with clients to recalibrate things and kind of get creative with it so that they can end up making it work. And I think that that's one of the biggest values, is having someone there who like understands you, who is there with you, on your journey. Because really the journey for an adventure like starts way before the adventure, right? It starts when you like decide you want to do it. So as long as you're investing in doing the adventure, like invest in doing the planning and the training, the preparation beforehand. And, I can help you just along the way.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Becki, for joining us on ASP.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to grow in the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
Can you hum along to every 80s pop melody? Do you still know the lyrics to all the 90s hip-hop tracks? Well, it's time to put your music knowledge to the test with Song Quiz, the #1 music quiz game on Alexa. You can play alone against random opponents or together with friends and family. Choose from a wide range of playlists and genres from the 1960s until now to see just how deep your knowledge goes. Just say, Alexa, play Song Quiz. That's Alexa, play Song Quiz.
This summer, LL Bean invites you to simply step outside and enjoy the fresh air and sunshine. We'll be your guide with tips and advice to get more out of every moment outdoors. Here's one. When you're fishing, remember that bright lights or flashy colors shout predator. Wear muted colors or camo to maximize your chances of success and catch more fish. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.